Welcome back, everyone, to Onyx's Rambling Reviews. If there's been any background noise recently in my previous videos, I think it's the AC. So right now the AC isn't running, so there shouldn't be any background noise. I also adjusted the level on the mic. We'll see if that helps. If the AC, well, when the AC kicks on while I'm down here. I need to get some sound damp. I think I'll probably get a nice thick rug to sit on. That might help. This is not a very good space for recording, I'm gonna be honest with you. I got tile floor and concrete walls. I have a lot of stuff down here, but it's not really stuff that sound dampens, unfortunately. I'm doing my best with the space that I have, but none of that matters with today's video. Well, it kind of does. Today's video, Disclosure Day, directed by the notable Steven Spielberg. There goes the AC. Hopefully it won't be too loud in the background. I don't know. Unfortunately, the AC unit, the huge chonky thing, it's like 10, 15 feet that way in a room. It is in its own room. And I could maybe put some sound dampening on the door inside of that. I think that could work. Anybody have any ideas? Let me know in the comments below, please. I think my idea of getting a nice rug will help though. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, Disclosure Day. Good movie, I think. It's very polarizing from what I've noticed. You either like it or you don't like it. Or you thought it wasn't what you wanted it to be, and you don't think this is Spielberg's best work. I enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars. Mostly not for the story, though. I thought it had some great moments. Some great cinematography in there from time to time. Not throughout the entirety of it, but there's definitely some good moments. I like this. I liked what Spielberg was doing with it, and I think my problem with it, you start out in what feels like the third act of a movie. And it has pacing issues a little bit. It's not, how do I put this? It is a unique way to do a movie. I think, personally, what I think would have been better was starting at what is the third act of this movie and going from there. But I am not the director or anything. Also, screenplay was written by David Koepp. I don't know how you actually pronounce it. I'm saying Koepp. He wrote the book Cold Storage, which was a movie that came out, I think it came out earlier this year. Yeah, earlier this year. I love that. Okay, to be fair, I am biased. I love Joe Keery. Once again, my Stranger Things personality is sleeping into that. No, it was a fun, funny, I guess zombie movie? Yeah, zombie. I need to read that book now. It took me a while to find. I like David Koepp. We also have a whole story and directed by, it doesn't sound like, the music was the fabulous John Williams. I have one friend that didn't really think that the music fit. I like the music, but I am also a sucker for John Williams. And I really think the only man who can bring him out of retirement is Spielberg. They have such a good working relationship, it seems. I mean, it's John Williams. If you know, you know. Let's talk about some of the actors in this movie now, because there's some other things I will talk about, but I'm going to put that after I do the spoiler section. But right now we're not in spoiler territory. We're just kind of in my overview, which, good movie. The ending scene, there's one actress. She's only in the end. She kills it in that, though. For such a what is technically a small role. Girl, fabulous. I don't even have her listed on here. I don't know who she was. I loved her, though. She pulled off what she needed to do brilliantly. But our main actors are Emily Blunt and Josh O'Connor. From what I've seen and what people have said, and yes, opinions have slightly biased me towards one. Now, nobody biased me on this opinion. Emily Blunt, definitely the star of this movie. She is brilliant. I love Emily Blunt. If you watched my Devil Wears Prada 2 review, you know I love Emily Blunt. I love Emily Blunt. She was brilliant. She understood what she needed to do, and she outperformed even more, and I love it. Then you have Josh O'Connor. I don't know how to put this in words, but I need to figure out how to put this in words. So let's figure out how to put this in words. Josh O'Connor was fine. Emily Blunt's performance overshadows kind of everybody in this movie. Let's be real. But Josh O'Connor, he didn't bring the same level of energy that Emily Blunt does. And I have nothing against Josh O'Connor. I don't know what else he's been in. I probably do, but I just can't recall anything right now. It didn't feel like it was a really flat performance. I wouldn't say that. No. But I feel like he could have brought more to it. It's not his best role, in my opinion. Yeah, let's go with that. We also have Colin Firth as Noah Scanlon. I know I've seen Colin Firth in some other things. Give me a moment. Wasn't he in Mamma Mia? Yeah, he is. Okay, we're ignoring that. Colin Firth. He plays Noah Scanlon. I know him from Mamma Mia. I'm pretty sure I know him from some other things, but Mamma Mia is the one that comes to mind. He has potential as the villain in this, but I don't think it's not his fault that the villain character is kind of one note, and that's just due to where the story starts us. Because we don't know much about him and what his motives are. And then he just kind of gives up near the end, and it's just like, excuse me? You went through all of this effort, all of this work to, like, stop the disclosure day from happening, and then you just give up? I don't know. I think he could have been better written. Now, what he was given to work with, I think he did good with, but I don't think the character was written that well, unfortunately. And I think that's partially due to, again, the fact that it feels like we're jumping into the third act of a longer movie. You have Eve Hewson as Jane Blankenship. Some of these people are given last names. Oh, I never told you the characters' names that Josh and Emily play. Emily plays Margaret Fairchild, and Josh is Dr. Daniel Kellner. Okay. Apologies for not mentioning that earlier. Let's mention that now. But yeah, okay, Eve Hewson is Jane Blankenship. These people have last names. Some of them really don't matter what the last names are, but we have them. So I respect that. I guess she's Josh's girlfriend? I'm not sure. I think they were dating. Yeah, that sounds right. She's an interesting character. Again, I feel like a lot of these characters would be much more interesting if we weren't dropped into what feels like the third act of a movie. The only character that works from the beginning is Margaret's, because we are introduced to her for what seems like the first time. Everybody else, it seems like we're thrown into what's going on in their lives. But Margaret, we're like, okay, she recently moved to Oklahoma City, and she's a weather woman. But like, we don't really need to know her backstory beyond that. Everybody else, we meet Josh as he's doing this weird handoff, and Jane is used as like the trade. She's a hostage in this situation. Noah is the one running the company that wants all that. We'll get into it. And finally, the other big name that I wrote down was Colman Domingo. He plays Hugo Wakefield. Okay, now, if anybody watched my Michael review, you know that Joseph Jackson, Colman Domingo, brilliant in that. He made me hate that character so much in Michael. I loved him in this movie too for a completely different reason. I think I just like Colman Domingo. I think he's a good actor. I think that's what I've come to conclude in my life. Because you don't hate him in this movie. He's a cool dude. He is the antithesis of Colin Firth's character, Noah Schnapp. Not Schnapp, sorry. That is an actor from Stranger Things. Yeah, okay, Stranger Things is invading my brain today. I don't know why. No, Noah Scanlon. Colman Domingo's character of Hugo is the antithesis of Colin Firth's character of Noah Scanlon. Apparently so I think Daniel Kellner and Hugo Wakefield used to work for Noah, which honestly I wish we had gotten that movie. Also, do you guys like my shirt, Catter? It glows in the dark. I also wore my little alien necklace. It felt appropriate. I got the poster. I did get the popcorn bucket. They didn't put popcorn in it, which honestly I respect because, well, A, it's a tiny bucket, and then we got like the large popcorn to go with it. So we got more popcorn than would have been in this, but also it didn't make it dirty. I also put up Close Encounters of the Third Kind because this is kind of a spiritual successor to that. Some people have said Minority Report feels more appropriate. I have not seen Minority Report yet. I need to. It's on my list of things to watch. What else do we like about this? I like the score. I had a friend that thought the score wasn't great, but everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And I respect the reasoning why they didn't think it was good. I think they would have liked it if it had been in a different movie. They didn't think it felt right for this movie. But whatever. Let's get into spoiler territory, so. Spoiler alert. We're not going to start right in on the movie, though. I have some things I want to talk about that are spoilers before I get into, everything. Also, this was the last movie that fit into this notebook. I get started a new notebook in my next video. Woo! Well, actually, not my next big review. Whatever. So, spoilers. Now, one of their complaints about the movie, they didn't like the design of the aliens. They thought they were too basic. Here's my thing. I think Spielberg is the only one that I know of who is sticking to, like, the little green alien dude design. I think everybody else is trying to, like, they're making them really different, really unique. You don't really see this design anymore. And I like the basic design. I think it works. And I think I respect Spielberg for not trying to make something wild and out there. I like the little green dudes. They're cute. Especially since, again, I don't see many other directors and people using this design. I like the aliens. I get where my friend's coming from, but I don't agree with it. What else do I have to spoil? I think that's all I really want to talk about in terms of spoilers before I actually get into the review, the recap part of the movie. I think I said I gave this 4 stars. I might have said that. Well, I gave it 4 stars. Again, I'm not sure why. I liked it. I did like it. I'm probably giving it 4 stars for Emily Blunt. And a little bit for John Williams, because I love John Williams. And you definitely hear callbacks to Close Encounters of the Third Kind in the score. And I respect that. Because wasn't this also John Williams? Yep, John Williams. Man knows how to make a good score, in my opinion. Whatever. Let's get into the recap, which is my final one in this. I had to go a little bit onto the very back page. I don't write on both sides of the pages in here. Because I don't want bleed through just in case with the pens. Also, being right-handed, I don't like having the spiral in my way. This pen is going to get in my way of turning pages. I should take that out. Okay, so let's get into the review, the recap. I'm going to try to speak with less pauses in. No, we're not. I'm gonna have pauses. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weirdly broken up. Also, I could try to sit more still, so when I do cut, you don't notice it as much. I have ADHD. I struggle to sit still, especially when I'm talking. I talk a lot with my body. If you probably noticed this, you probably have, especially because when I cut, I'm suddenly in a different pose or something. I don't know how to fix that without changing how I am, and I do not want to change how I am. I like how I am. I like being me. But let's get... Sorry, this is a tangent that I'm probably going to leave in, actually. So let's get into our recap. I saw this in IMAX. If I can see a movie in IMAX, I'm going to see it in IMAX. We don't have a true IMAX. What we have is what people in the industry... not the industry per se, but like in the movie space call a LIMAX. I'm pretty sure it is an IMAX projector, or what is akin to an IMAX projector, but it is not the huge screen that it's supposed to be. We used to have one, and then they got rid of it and moved the IMAX into the normal theater, and I'm mad about that. Bring back my IMAX theater, please. It was actually big enough and would have fit, it used to have a 70mm in there. And now I'm even more mad that it's gone now. To be fair, we didn't have the 70mm for a while. That broke a while ago, and I'm just... I have opinions. That doesn't really matter, but it didn't do the fun thing where at the number 4 in the IMAX countdown is where it makes the screen bigger, and it just makes me sad. It just makes me sad. And that's my note from before the movie. I don't really take notes on the commercials, the previews. If you go to the movies as frequently as I do, you start to be able to quote previews pretty easily. That's fine. We're at a wrestling match. Dude, there's wrestling going on. One of the guys is given a chair, because there's always a chair, a folding metal chair. Why? I don't know wrestling. I don't care to know wrestling. It's not my thing. There's a dude in the audience who looks nervous. Hey, guess what? It is one of our main protagonists, Dr. Daniel Kellner. He's being held at gunpoint, and people want his backpack. He is told, when he stands up to just casually slip it off. Cataloging. Oh yeah. So I guess they get the backpack. They take it. They're cataloging what he had in the backpack. He's brought back out. He gets Jane back. That was, I guess the trade was Jane for the backpack, I think. Then he pulls... So they're looking for something very specific. Like, they want all the flash drives that he has that they were cataloging. But there's something very specific they want. It's this... I don't know how to describe... I just call it a device. We're never given a name for it. It's just a device. And that is the thing that they want. And I think... Noah was there. He was... And he knows what that device can do. So, I think. Yeah, he does. And he realizes that Daniel wielding it could cause a lot of issues, and he doesn't want Daniel to actually use it. He's holding it just enough that he's holding it, but he's not using it. I guess you have to hold it tightly to activate it or something. It's alien tech. I'm gonna be real straight up. It is alien tech. He also is wearing a glove while he uses it. He makes sure he is wearing a glove. I guess holding it with your hand is not good. We're not given reason in this. Again, it feels like we're dropped into the third act of a movie. We're starting off with him being held at gunpoint, everything, and it feels like we're missing a whole bunch of context that we never get, is the problem. We never get this context. I understand. Okay, disclosure. The company, they have all of this research and proof and video and everything of alien life. They even have actual alien. And Kellner and Hugo and all, that whole group, they're like, people deserve to know about this stuff. I agree with that. I also agree that there is stuff in life that, it's maybe best that people don't know about it. It's for their own sanity. Honestly, I'd like to know if there's, other life out there. I'd like to believe that there is. Personally, I believe in aliens. I believe in ghosts. I have no proof of either of these. Well, I kind of have proof of Melinda, my ghost down here. I don't know if she'll appear today. Who knows with her? Yeah, I've never had real encounters. I like to believe that we're not alone in the universe. And that is a point brought up by a nun at one point. Just like, God made us. Why would she, like a nun believing in aliens and being like, yeah, God probably made other shit too. Why should I believe that we're the only species that he created? I'm like, she got a point. And she got a point. Like, why would we be the only beings that God created? If you believe in God, or whatever God you do believe in. There's gotta be other life out there. We just haven't found it yet, or they are avoiding us because they have observed Earth long enough to know. I believe that there is something else out there. And maybe one day we'll find it and we'll actually make contact. I don't know, man. It makes me feel optimistic about life when there's very little in the world to be optimistic about these days. Small things. You gotta find the small things that bring you joy. And if that's believing in aliens, believing in ghosts, believing in Bigfoot, he's out there. Mothman, all the cryptids, hell yeah. Believe in what you want to believe. Don't force your beliefs on others. Leave it over this. Yeah, so he gets Jane back, he uses the thing. He ends up stealing a car from these people. He also, like, gets all his stuff from his backpack and puts all his stuff back in it. Jane, with the device, he is able to do this. And he steals the car and he drives away, and they don't chase him. And I think this is because he has the device. I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure they must have GPS tracker on that car. It isn't a government agency that Noah works for, but they're contracted by the government, I believe. They work with the government, but they are not the government. When you get into that situation, there's always some, middle ground that's very questionable where the line is, So he steals the car, and as he's driving away with Jane, he calls Hugo, and he wants to figure out what to do next, because he has all this information, he has the device, he has Jane now. And Hugo is just like, look, you gotta go to a place. You're now the carrier of this package. You are the one in charge of it. Daniel was expecting to hand it off, so he wasn't involved with this. He's now involved. But he has to go to a place that he tells Jane that he needs to find a place that he's never been to and he doesn't know about. Jane knows a place. And we go to it's not a monastery, is for monks. What? See, they're not cloistered because they allowed Jane and Daniel in. I don't know what the term is for a place where nuns exist. I'm just gonna say church. That's not right. A nunnery. Something along those lines. Church, nunnery, something like that. Apparently Jane used to be a nun. And Daniel's mad at her for not having ever told him this. And she's just like, excuse me, sir? You never told me what you did in all of this. And you're mad at me for not telling you I was a nun? I think we have very different levels of what is okay to leave out of, your past. It's like, clearly she's not a nun anymore. I don't see what the issue is there. She used to be a nun. Why should that matter? She has beliefs, at least. It's not like it's affecting your relationship. Has it affected your relationship? No. And if it had, you might have questioned why, and then you would have found out. And she's over here like, I've asked about what you did, and you've lied about a lot of things, and boy, I got so many questions for you, and you better answer them. That was a lot less nuanced than the whole situation was. But yeah, that was essentially that conversation. Noah goes back to his office. I don't remember what the company is called. I want to say Async, but that's from Backrooms. It doesn't really matter. This is also where we find out that Hugo worked for Noah. I say monastery in here. I know that's not right. That's where monks are. Unless you can also use the term monastery for nuns. I do not know. Correct me in the comments, please. Let me know. I do like learning these things. I do like learning. I just tend to not think to research these things before I get into this. There's a reason I call these rambling reviews. I don't have a script, I just have notes. Writing a script, it would not go well. Yeah, Jane knows the nuns, and the nuns will protect Jane. He's mad she was a nun. So apparently I did say this earlier, Daniel used to work for Noah and that company. I think he was like cybersecurity or something like that. He stole what he was paid to protect. That's what I wrote down. Stole what he was paid to protect, which was all the information on extraterrestrial life and proof of extraterrestrial existence. And we find out that she lost her calling, I guess, is why she's not a nun anymore. The nun later says at some point, when she calls to ask about something, she's just like, I don't think you lost your way. I don't think you lost your belief in God. I think you lost your belief in people. And that, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense. Because you can believe in God, but like, how you see people interact with the world can also affect that belief, I think. And I think that is partially why I've pulled away from the church some. A, because of people. B, I have seen how religion can affect people, and it's not for me. And here's the thing. This movie, it has a lot of religious tones in there. It uses it in ways that make a lot of sense for the movie. It doesn't push the religion in your face, because nuns tend to be of Christian faith, I think. I don't know specifically what kind of Christian faith. I do not know much about that. But we don't know exactly which form of Christianity. It's not explicitly said, and I think that's fine. Moving on. He worked for them. Apparently Daniel was in prison, federal prison, and he has worked for the company that Noah runs since he got out of federal prison, and he keeps secrets for a living, which is why he was so good at not telling Jane what he does with his life. And he believes that what he stole, all the information about extraterrestrial life, belongs to everyone. And she doesn't believe this. She thinks that telling everyone is not the right move, that it could ruin people's religious beliefs and everything. I get where she's coming from. I am more on Daniel's side here. Now we're in Kansas City, Missouri. Oh, is that where they moved? I thought they moved to Oklahoma. Where did I get Oklahoma from? Was it? It's Kansas City that I wrote down. I don't know where I got Oklahoma from. Ignore every time that I mentioned Oklahoma City, which I think was really only once. We see a weather report going on. And it is Margaret's boyfriend? His name is Jackson. We don't like Jackson. At least I don't like Jackson. I don't know about you, but you shouldn't like Jackson, in my opinion. So he is watching an old report of hers as Margaret is getting ready to go to work. She doesn't want to just be a weather person. She wants to be a news anchor, which, yeah, okay, that seems to be a common thing sometimes. It's like, yeah, this person only does like small segments. They want to be the anchor, though. Well, sure, why not? But I don't think she wants to be the main anchor. She wants to be like the weekend anchor. So work her way up to main anchor, whatever. I note her man is odd. They used to live in Dallas like a year ago, and she already wants to move again. She doesn't feel this is the place for her. And as she's like setting out breakfast, which is like, I think it's just toast and coffee. I know there's toast. A cardinal flies in. It is a pretty bird. Okay, and here's the thing. The aliens appear to people as animals, and all the animals in this movie look slightly Uncanny Valley-esque, and I can see the complaint that it is bad CG. Here's my take on it. I think it's purposely done because this is alien life appearing as this thing. They're getting it slightly wrong, and something's off and you can't place it. They look almost right, but not quite, and that's why the Uncanny Valley, and we have all this. That's my take, and I think it works if you look at it that way. And I think it's an interesting take. It's just like, yeah, they don't quite know how to perfectly replicate these creatures and how they act. And that's why you feel like there is something just wrong about them. And yes, the CG could be better on them, obviously. But I think that is slightly done on purpose. And I like that theory that I came up. I don't know if anybody else came up with this. That's my theory. I told that to my husband as we walked out there. I'm like, yeah, I think they were off because of that reason. So the cardinal flies in and it just stares at Margaret. It like lands on their dining table. Also, this is a nice like apartment that they're in. Great layout, great space. I like it. Personally, I like a lot of space. I need a bigger house. One of my dreams is to have a house that is big enough that I can have a dedicated library. So she has a moment, and then Jackson shoos it away. Shoo. And we learn later on that when they appear to you as animals, you can't look away until they do. Why? I don't actually know why, but whatever. And then she starts speaking, and I think it's Russian. I think they say it's Russian. And Jackson's freaking out because she's having a whole, like, conversation in Russian, which apparently she has never spoken before in her life. But now she is speaking perfect Russian. Also, points for Emily Blunt for learning these languages, because she speaks in a couple of different languages throughout the movie. And the fact that she had to learn these to, like, speak fluently enough to be, what's the word I'm looking for? To be, believable. Why that word slipped my mind, I don't know. To be able to speak these languages, effectively enough to be believable, that's impressive. And these are Russian. One of them I think is Korean. These are not easy languages to learn. I've tried to learn Russian. And then Duolingo switched to firing everybody and being AI, and I stopped learning. So yeah, Jackson's freaking out because she's speaking Russian, and he's just like, I don't know what's going on. This is not normal. Something's wrong here. But she's late for work. And she's driving to work. She is late. She's speeding. The song that's playing is Sweet Escape by Gwen Stefani. Do you enjoy that song? It takes me back. It is Sweet Escape by Gwen Stefani. She's pulled over because she's speeding. The cop is kind of in a mood that morning, I guess. He asks for her license or registration, which she gives him. And then he asks her to step out of the vehicle. I get he's having a bad day, and he knows who she is. He knows he's the weather person. And he's just like, my guy, why? He's being a dick. That is what I wrote down. I guess she ends up touching his hand at some point, and I guess she ends up knowing a whole bunch about this guy and why he's having a bad day. News! Yeah, no, now we're, she gets away. She doesn't get a ticket or anything. She gives him advice on how to solve the fight that I guess he had with his wife that morning, and that helps. She parks horribly as she gets to the news station. She knows things. I guess she doesn't have to touch people. I guess she can just tell. She just seems to know things. She starts speaking Korean to the Korean delegate that is there and is trying to communicate something, but I guess the translator isn't great, and the word that it ends up being needed to really figure out what's going on is very similar to another word, and I guess unless you're really fluent in Korean, you probably wouldn't get whatever. And then she gets on, she barely makes in time for her segment of the news, but she gets there and she starts to do her news report. Before this, she does tell somebody to call the police on him. I'm guessing it's a boyfriend or somebody who is abusive. Yeah, that happens. So she does her news report, and not her news report, her weather report. And as she's doing this, she starts clicking what we see in the trailer. That scene of her just kind of going something like that. And then she faints. And now we're back with Daniel. Daniel's getting picked up by, Santiago. Santiago picks them up. And he tells Jane that she should stay with the nuns. That is where she's going to be safe. As always, when you tell somebody you're going to be safest here and you should stay here, they follow you. She gets in the car with him and Santiago, and yep, that is exactly what happens. So that's fun. Santiago is taking Daniel to a safe house. Noah has gotten news of Margaret's news report, and apparently whatever she's speaking matches a dialect sample that they have from aliens. I was gonna say aliens. Margaret's getting a brain scan, which makes sense. She passed out after speaking in what most people would just say speaking in tongues on live TV. So yeah, it makes sense to go get her brain scan after she passed out after doing that. So she's getting a brain scan. Daniel and Jane are now at the safe house. It's a farmhouse. It is very rundown, and for a safe house, you'd think they'd at least try to maintain it better. There's a lot of deer out there. They're just kind of staring. Jane wants answers. Jane is Daniel's girlfriend. Yeah, I understand her wanting answers. She's just like, why are we at a safe house? Where are we hiding? What did you steal? Why did you steal? Why? What everything? What? Then you get the cliche line of, if I told you, oh, you won't believe me if I told you. And Daniel's just like, you won't believe me if I told you. But he does follow it up by being like, so I'm going to show you. I respect that. He does show her. He shows her a couple of the clips that he has from these thumb drives. They're weird looking thumb drives. Just use normal thumb drives. I don't know why they have to look like, whatever. Find out the FBI is not the FBI. These people are looking for Margaret. These are more of Noah's people. Because he wants to find her, because he kind of knows who she is, but he there's this whole thing where I guess there's people who are chosen by the aliens. I'm not sure. Again, we were thrown into a third act of a movie, and then we still get a movie. And we're missing so much information. The FBI that is looking for her is not the FBI, apparently. Margaret has some childhood trauma that Jackson brings up to the nurse, and Margaret is not happy that he told the nurse this. It was not his to tell, which, fair. I do understand where he's coming from, but I also fully agree that he should not have said anything. It was not his place to say anything. But again, she had just passed out after speaking in tongues on live TV. It's a weird catch-22 situation for me here. Margaret wants to leave. One of the things that Daniel shows Jane is video of Nixon showing a TV star a morgue with aliens, and we see experimenting on aliens, which apparently is a very hard watch. Daniel is even like, this is going to be hard to watch. Yeah, there's another device, which Noah has. Apparently it looks like they had 3. There's only one left. I think Hugo has the 3rd one, which kind of makes sense it makes sense. He puts a bite guard in and he grabs the device. Whatever he was trying to do didn't work. Daniel wants to disclose everything to everyone all at once, but not everywhere. Not everything everywhere all at once. Good movie, by the way. I mean, yeah, no, the best way to if you want to disclose it, just everything all at once. Because then you don't have to worry about some of it going missing or like hiding any of it. You're just like, everything is out there now. That is everything. Smart way to do it. I respect it. And then we bring religion to it because Jane's just like, I don't think this is good because people's beliefs and everything, and people are gonna think that, start believing that these aliens are deities. And sure, I can see where she's coming from. That is a valid stance to have. Honestly, very valid. I think that people are smart enough to not... There are some people out there who might start believing that the aliens are deities, gods. Not everyone is going to believe that, and I don't think a lot of people are going to turn away from religion to start believing that these aliens are gods. So I think her argument kind of falls apart there, but that's my personal opinion. Daniel needs phone service because he needs to call Hugo to figure out what their next step is, and he can't really get service in the farmhouse apparently, so he's like, I'm gonna go to the hill, see if I get better service. And now we're back to Margaret, who is escaping the hospital. Hugo calls Margaret. How he got her... I'm not sure how... There's a lot of things I'm just like, I don't know how this event is playing out, because I don't know how Hugo got Margaret's number. Somehow he did. And Hugo tells her some things, and then he tells her to destroy her phone. So she throws it out the car window to run over it. Jackson is the one driving. He fails a few times to run over the phone. So she ends up getting out of the car, lining the phone up with the wheel, has him run over it forwards, and then go back over it, and then she jumps on it and stamps on it, and like... But the fact that they struggled to, like, it's just like, yeah, we're tossing out the window, we're gonna drive over it, and that fails a couple of times. It was honestly quite funny. It's just like, yeah, it's proves that it's not that easy. And I like that. Yeah, Jackson's freaking out. He doesn't like the fact that she wanted to leave the hospital after everything. He does not know what's going on. There's a lot of, like, we have the 3 different storylines going on here. They do all interconnect later, but, like, we have the Margaret storyline, the Daniel storyline, and we have the Noah storyline. Noah is more intertwined with the Daniel storyline, but he is partially intertwined with the Margaret storyline right now. Not as much, though. He is the one that sent, like, the FBI to find her. Noah goes to use the device again. That's all we know about that at the moment. Kellner has gotten a hold of Hugo, and Hugo sends Daniel the video of Margaret clicking. I'm just gonna say it's clicking. And he understands what she's saying. Nobody else does, but he does. So that's weird. And then a crop circle forms around Daniel in the field, because apparently he is special. Why is he special? As a child, he was abducted by aliens. We'll get to that later. Jane is in the bathroom. Yeah, she's in the bathroom. She is taking pills of some sort. She is not having a great day, if we're being honest. And now Noah's trying to infiltrate her mind and to kind of take over her to an extent. Yeah, Noah is controlling her. Jane starts praying after he stops. She has on a cross necklace, which after she exits the bathroom, she rips it off, and she is clutching it tightly to the point where it is painful in her hand. Like, she is feeling pain in her hand. And I think that's the same hand that Noah is gripping the device with, and whatever. Noah appears in the kitchen. He's not actually there, but, like, she is seeing him there, and they have a conversation. He wants to know where she is because he wants to find Daniel and get everything back, obviously. She fights him off briefly, but he is able to force her to answer. Injures herself with her necklace. He asks Jane to stop Daniel if needed. I don't like Noah. That is word for word what I wrote right there. I don't like Noah. But I also I feel like I would understand his character more if we had gotten some more we don't know much about him. What are his motivations? Why is he working for this company? We don't even know much about this company that he works for or runs or whatever, which would be interesting to know more about. Margaret ends up calling Daniel, which Jackson is, note in here, Jackson, which is Margaret's boyfriend. I do not like him. He does not like that there is now this man that she needs to go find. He is not a good boyfriend. I do not like him. Jackson is just like, who the hell is Kellner? Who the hell is Dr. Daniel Kellner? He doesn't like that there's another man that is going to be part of the situation that he has never heard of before, but apparently his girlfriend knows all about. You get my guy, chill. Your girlfriend is having, like, a day, and you're freaking about the fact that you think she might be... Honey, stop being the main character in somebody else's story. Whatever. Because of Noah seeing through Jane's eyes and talking to Jane, all that stuff, Noah now knows where they are hiding, and he sends a team there after them. And a team certainly shows up. There's a lot of people. There's so many cars. Daniel sees the cars. He is not in the house with Jane, obviously. But he once again steals a car from these people. He keeps stealing cars. This is the second car he's stolen. Quit stealing cars. He drives through the house. He gets Jane into the car. He gets her into the back seat. She now has a knife because Noah is controlling her to have a knife, I guess. There's a car chase. First time I can say this in a while about a movie where there's a car chase and it's actually cars. That's weird. Every other time I've mentioned a car chase, it's actually been like spaceships or boats or something. It's never been actual cars, at least not recently. So Jane is trying to fight for control of her own body. She does not want to hurt Daniel. She ends up stabbing herself. And I think that does break the connection. And they drive to a cliff. They almost drive off the cliff, but they don't. But then they send the car off the cliff. They get out, like, Daniel and Jane get out of the car. And then they just send the car driving off the cliff to make Noah's men think they drove off the cliff. I don't know why they would, I'm not sure why this works. Or how this works. Because honestly, they get there and these people, like, Daniel and Jane are just kind of hiding behind a rock. They're like 10 feet away from Noah's men. I do not know how Noah's men do not see them, hear them, or anything. They are not hiding well. They should have been captured there, in my opinion. But they weren't. Whatever. Now we are back with Margaret and Jackson. They've arrived at a gas station. I guess people saw her report and are freaking out about the end of days. Fair, I guess. At a gas station, a lot of people are stocking up on things. I don't know why they stopped there, per se. Did somebody have to go to the bathroom? I don't think either of them went to the bathroom. I don't think they needed gas. But they end up there. Oh, at one point, I think Margaret does take Jackson's phone and throws it out the window and breaks it. So she tries to calm him down after telling him that they need to go to where Daniel is. Again, he's the jealous boyfriend. So, it can be a well-written trope when it's not done in a way where it's very toxic. And this is very toxic. Look, jealousy is a hard thing to write in a way that doesn't make you hate the person who is jealous. Let's be real. So they get to this gas station and they talk a little bit, and then Jackson goes inside, and I guess he's getting snacks or something. I don't know. He's getting a drink. He ends up borrowing somebody's phone and calls the police or the FBI or somebody. And just like, yeah, this is where we are. This is where she is. While he's inside, Margaret just takes the car and leaves. I guess he left the keys with her. Jackson was the one driving. So I don't know if he had the keys or if he left the keys. I don't know. He should have taken the keys with him. But whatever. I guess she could have hotwired the car. It is an older car. I don't know, but it worked. She drove away and left him behind. She tells a kid to tell Jackson, and she's like, yeah, she left. And now we're back with Daniel and Jane, and they are at an inn in Indiana. INN-DI-ANA. I love the pun. I do love a good pun. It's not an inn that I would stay at. It is probably very low budget. Throughout this, every time we've seen Hugo, he is like building a house or like staging. Like, you don't know what he's doing, but he's building a house and staging something. It could be for a TV show for all we know. We don't really know what's going on. So I'm like, what is Hugo doing? Daniel, we see him taking matches. I think he's just going through and making sure that in case Noah tries to get into Jane's mind again and see through her eyes, she can't see any identifying information. Smart. So like the matches that have the inn's name on, he takes the notepad, which has it on top of it, and rips it. We'll get to that in a moment. I think whatever else there was, he gets rid of anything that has any identifying information about the inn. And she's showering. She comes out of the shower, and she gets the rope from a bathroom. This is not the kind of hotel. It does not look like the kind of place that would just have a bathrobe in the closet. It is not fancy enough for that. I would never trust a robe at a place like this to be clean. Not that I'm saying that the staff don't clean. I'm just saying that there's only so much you can do. He puts the phone in a drawer, because I guess the phone must have. And Jane comes out and asks to be tied up. He ties her hands. Somehow, he wrote something on that piece of paper, and he's holding his hand. Somehow, because Noah does repossess Jane during the night, and he is looking for information about where they are. And Daniel was an idiot to hold on to that piece of paper. He should have put that like under his pillow or something, not where she could easily like knock his hand with her foot to see what was written on it. Also, the way she was tied up, she definitely could have used her feet to open the drawer to find the phone. And there's a lot of things that, like, it's just like, yeah, you could have tried harder. Tied her to the far side of the bed where it's harder for her to get to you. Yeah, so many things. Oh, it's Wardex. That is the name of the company. I don't like that name. They show up right after Santiago. So Santiago is getting there. He is there to pick them up. He gets there like 30 seconds at best before Wardex shows up. He's just like, he calls up Hugo and she's like, yeah, they're screwed. They got captured. I gotta go. Jane gets away. She crawls out through the bathroom window with the backpack. No, not the backpack. Does she have she has the device, not the backpack. I think he still has the backpack with everything. And so they take him. Daniel's taken in. They drive by a place with a very select few people are going to understand this reference. And if you know, you know. And I respect you very much. Big Beef Cow. If you are part of that community, love you guys. It is not the one that like is the original. Noah wants to know where the device is because it is not there. They have all of the flash drives, all that, but not the device. And that's what he really wants. I don't know why he wants. He has his own. He doesn't need another, I guess. Maybe when you have more, you can do more. I don't know. Margaret has arrived. She is able to, I'd say lie, but she knows so much about people, but just by looking at them, I guess. I guess what she's able to do is appear as somebody else to these people. So they think that she is, because she's going into a military base. So I think she's able to make the military people, like at the guard station, think she is somebody who works there, and so on and so forth. And she gets in there to rescue Daniel. I don't know how she figured out where Daniel was, but there's so much information missing throughout the story. We see Noah sees a woman. Isn't Margaret when he looks at her. It is his wife. Yeah, I'm just gonna say it is his wife. And she keeps making people see people, and she tells them things, which gets them to back off and let her and Daniel pass. They take the backpack with him. There's one guy. What is his name? Do I ever write his name down? I just call him Agent Asshole. Do I ever write his actual name down? No, I just call him Agent Asshole. The main guy who's like in charge of the search team for Daniel and Margaret, I forgot to write his name down. I call him Agent Asshole once I start referring to him more, which is an apt description of him. I wish I had wrote down his name though. I'm sorry I didn't. Yeah, he's the only one who I think doesn't see. I don't know if Margaret even tries on him, but we never see. He's never swayed by anything. Whatever. They end up stealing. No, they get into Margaret's car. They don't steal a car. They just get into Margaret's car and they go away. They start driving away to Kansas City. So you get on the news. They end up stopping at a train crossing, and Agent Asshole is in a car and shows up behind him and starts ramming them forward because there is a train. I know Noah does not want these two people dead. At least I don't think he wants them dead. Maybe he wants Daniel dead, but I don't think he wants Margaret dead. Either way, they're both gonna end up dead if Agent Asshole keeps doing what he's doing. Whatever. He's pushing them into the train. Car gets caught under the train, and of course, as they're going, they're trying to climb onto the train to get, not get crushed by this train as the car is getting dragged along with it. And of course, there's another train coming, because of course there is. We need that tension. We had Agent Asshole shooting at them as they were trying to get on the train. And they throw in too many trains. I like trains, but we don't. Why? Of course, they jump just in Margaret. Daniel's already holding on to the train somehow. And of course, Margaret jumps just at the last second and makes it and lives and is completely fine. And they end up hiding in the train. They get into the train, which is all pianos. And she starts having a panic attack. I think everything's finally caught up to her. Fair that she's finally having a panic attack. I respect that she was able to hold it off for this long. I think this is finally the calmest moment that she's had since everything started happening yesterday morning. That she's just yep, nope, time to freak out. And she just, Daniel does his best to calm her down, and he does. He walks her through it. We're good. Noah uses the device and taps into Hugo. Find out Hugo freed an alien, maybe. Noah believes in more life none. None, not Noah. I wrote none. None? Because Jane did call the nun because she's just what should I do? She has Daniel's device. And she's so what should I do? And then it's just I believe that there is more life in the universe. And then there's Daniel and Margaret are walking, and there is a fox that stares at them. Then firemen show up, and they start grabbing them, and at first you're did Noah's men start impersonating fire people? No, this is Santiago and Hugo's men. I don't know where they got the fire trucks from, but hey, they have fire trucks now, I guess. It's down here. They're brought to Hugo. Hugo built a house in a warehouse, an actual, house. And the house apparently is a perfect replica of the one that Margaret grew up in. Except for the fact that they didn't build the second floor. And they're really lucky Margaret's room was on the first floor, and she never tried to go upstairs because there wasn't a second floor built. But Margaret also refuses to look at Hugo because he knows everything, and she does not want to know all that he knows. She does not want to deal with that at all. No. I did ask, how is it such a perfect yeah, honestly, like, how did they make it such a perfect recreation of her childhood house? Like, down to all the photos and everything, movies. Look, there's a point where, like, you were stalking this child way too much back then, and you know too much. I don't like it. There's a cat picture. It's a cute cat. And Hugo's just like, yeah, you need to relive this time in your life. You need to know what happened. And it must be bad. And apparently Daniel was there, which is why he can understand the clicking and everything. He doesn't, I don't think he can speak it on, so many questions still. But apparently Hugo talks Margaret into doing this, and he gives her his device. Both Daniel and Margaret hold on to it, and we see Margaret as a small child singing "Someday My Prince Will Come" from Snow White. A deer, a fox, a raccoon, and a cardinal enter little Margaret's room. Like, they just phase through the wall, I guess. Again, they all look slightly off, but again, I do believe that this is just the aliens not quite knowing how to be an animal. And they choose these creatures because they're less intimidating than an alien. But it's still weird for these things to just walk into your room. Whatever. They aren't animals. They are aliens. And they take her to a house. She's walking through snow. It is cold. But apparently it's not cold. And as they approach this house, you see the footprints. You see little Margaret's footprints as she's walking to the house. You see the animal footprints. But as they get closer, the animal footprints change into different footprints. The alien's footprints. She crawls into a bed. It's a floating bed. It's on a spaceship. Daniel's there. He's freaking out. Young Margaret. Calm, and she calms Daniel. And then you see a whole bunch of these devices there spinning. They're set up in a circle. They don't probe them. I don't know what's going on or what the aliens are doing to these two children. The eyes glow on Margaret, and they drop the device. She finally looks at Hugo right as Noah's people arrive, and she somehow she knows how to use the device. I don't know how she knows these things. It's probably just she has unlocked this part of her now. So there's that. She uses it. She turns everything in the warehouse of Hugo's people, at least, no, not everything, but like the fire trucks, the recreation of the house, all of Hugo's people, and all of them are invisible, but Noah's people are able to see the light emanating from the device being used with infrared or something like that. But they can't see like the house or anything. There's just a light. Thermal imaging, that's what they use. That's what good. So they can see that there are people there, but that they don't know about that. They can't see that. It's weird science things. Why is the floor wet in this warehouse? Like, actually, why is the floor wet? The floor should not be wet. I guess they needed to. Noah's people could see, hey, look, the water's being splashed. Hugo's people, they get into the fire trucks. Invisible fire truck. They run over, or kind of run through and everything. So, they get away in the fire trucks. The two are invisible for a short amount of time. There's at least two. One goes one way, one goes the other way to get away. It's a really weird scene. It's a cool scene. I like what they did here. It's really unique. As they're getting away, eventually the device ends up turning to ash. But I guess they're far enough away that they get away. They go to the news station. I guess Clay is the producer or whatever. He's the one who kind of points and be like, you go, and so on and so forth. He was mad at her the other morning. He's helpful now. She's like, do you want makeup? And she's like, yeah, fair. If you're gonna go on the news, you want to look your best. I could wear makeup, I just choose not to. Noah shows up. Because of course he does. And his plan is to cut power to the news station. Not just normal power, he also wants to cut the generator because he knows that, it may make sense that something like that would have a backup generator, so he knows to cut that too. Hugo gets a delivery. Going to bomb power. Yeah, no, it is a bomb that they used to stop the main power. But then the backup generator kicks in. But then they cut that power just as Margaret's about to go live and, disclose everything. Daniel's up in, the room where they're like, this is where we're gonna add in the, she's talking, and then we have, this little square up here that shows the video that they're talking about. So he's up there, and he has uploaded all of the files that he has on those weird-looking thumbnail things. Jane shows up and gives Margaret the device that she kept, that Daniel gave her. And I guess Margaret's able to restore the power with the device. And she has this weird stare down with Noah. And he just this is like supposed to be like the big moment where you have the clash of good versus bad, and she just kind of stares him down and just like, sit. And he sits and gives up. Agent asshole is mad about that. And he leaves. Margaret goes live. At some point they say disclosure day, and I said roll credits, referencing our favorite Everything Wrong with channel. I do enjoy CinemaSins. They're very fun. It's fun, especially when I've done a video and then I watch the Everything Wrong with. I'm like, hey, I even mentioned something like that. I some of these things are just like, yeah, that's obvious. Daniel's trying to make sure that other news agencies and broadcasts pick up the story. They get to New York. They get New York to pick up the story. And once New York gets it, everybody's gonna start noticing it because it's New York. The biggest news station. And this is the actress that plays the anchor for the New York feed. Kills it. She's interrupted with her original story about, I guess, World War III is about to happen or is happening or something like that. Then they're interrupted with this, and she's just like, we're getting this live. And the way she just emotes and everything as just a news anchor here, who we've never been introduced before. She's really only here for this. She is so good in the scene. Like, actually, she's like, besides Emily Blunt, best actress in this movie. So soon, like, all the news stations are getting this feed. Of course, we get video from Roswell. I'm pretty sure, I'm not for sure, but I'm like 90% sure that there was at least one scene that came from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And I was hoping for a little bit more references. I get why they didn't, but also I wish there was, because it makes sense. And Hugo, that delivery, Hugo brings out a thing. It's an alien. In what looks like, you know those hair dryers at like salons? It looks like it's in one of those. It's an elderly alien. Everyone is watching. Even Jackson is also somehow watching during all this. Still don't like that man. The alien, Margaret and Daniel walk over to the alien and he talks to them. The alien talks to them. And Margaret goes back to stand in front of the desk. I don't know why she didn't just say it over by the alien, but she goes back to stand in front of the desk and she says, listen, and then the credits roll. And that was Disclosure Day. Again, like I said, polarizing movie. It is good and bad. I think it has potential. I think it would have been better as a sequel to something that we got to where the movie started. I want more information on Noah. I want more information on that company. There's a lot of information that we're missing that would help the movie flow better. And yeah, Spielberg is older, so there's... Yeah, he looks great for his age, honestly. What else do I have to say about this movie? Ooh. I definitely see the issues that people have with it. I fully understand them. I don't know, man. I think this is one that you have to see to form your own opinion on. And I definitely believe that if you see somebody's opinion, despite seeing that, you need to go watch it for yourself to form your own. Don't let other people's opinions influence your judgment of going to see this or not. Because it's an interesting concept. I really like the idea of it. I just think it could have been executed a little better. And that's about all I have. Yeah, I don't know what I think, honestly. There is much I could say, but it wouldn't really have any merit here. Do you guys believe in aliens? I'm curious. I do. They're just either really far away or they've noticed what Earth is like and they're like, we're going to avoid you like the plague. Meanwhile, I'm over here just like, I got movies to watch. Yeah. That was Disclosure Day. What are your thoughts on the movie? Let me know in the comments below. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in my next video. And then the next big review will probably be Supergirl. I'm excited for Supergirl. But beyond that, what would it be after Supergirl? Maybe Moana? I have tickets to a couple movies coming up. I've had my tickets for Odyssey for over a year. And my husband and I just got tickets for the new Spider-Man movie. I am so looking forward to it. It looks really good. But yeah, next will be Supergirl. And then maybe Moana, unless something else comes out that I'm like, yeah, I should do a video on that. We'll see. Until then, my friends, you've been fabulous. I've been Onyx. That's not how this outro goes. I need to work on it. I've been Onyx. You've been fabulous. Until next time. Bye!